Okay, so I am back. I am really sorry about that, but my broadcast just ended right in the middle of me talking, and that was pretty upsetting. Um, but it's so interesting that they're trying to give them an ultimatum, a deadline to get off the Ambassador Bridge. Um, I live right pretty close and to the Ambassador Bridge, and I'm telling you, it's brave to basically stop a huge rig on the Ambassador Bridge. My friends and I hate going over the Ambassador Bridge. Um, it's preferable to going under, like going through the tunnel. It's just we always think which is safer, because if the tunnel were to spring a leak and you were to get flooded underground, we figure that would be worse than if the Ambassador Bridge happened to collapse, because the Ambassador Bridge is super old. I think it's almost 100 years old. And when you go across, if you get stuck in a traffic jam, it's super scary. And so for these trucks to just park on the bridge and block it, that's pretty brave in and of itself, because that bridge is super scary to drive over. I hate it myself. It's pretty if you dare to look out at the scenery over the river, but it's not super fun. But it looks like they're attempting to arrest these truckers, these protesters, but it's going to be really hard. I'm looking to see Ontario Premier Doug Ford on Friday decided declared a state of emergency in response to the ongoing Ambassador Bridge blockade and protests in Ottawa against coronavirus restrictions. Ottawa police said protesters needed to move by midnight or they could be subject to arrest and fines. And I think these truckers are super brave, because when they do arrest you in a situation like that, they'll treat it like the January 6th situation, where they'll just throw you in jail and not charge you and not give you due process. And I'm sure that's how they'll be treating these people. So they are risking so much. But I know they were trying to haul away some of the rigs, and it's super hard to haul away a humongous semi, but a lot of the companies are refusing to come and haul away these trucks, even if they could. Let's see. Canadian judge also ordered the truckers to move from the bridge by 7 p.m. Let's see. Looking to see if there's any newer updates. Protesters have also blocked 2 other international border crossings in Manitoba and have caused shortages of auto parts, which is definitely affecting the auto industry in my area, because I know they had to limit some of the shifts for one of the Ford plants. Let's see. This is so inspired. It's very ingenious, because, like I said, truckers are definitely the backbone of our society. If they don't roll, then our lifestyle comes to a screeching halt. So I definitely think that was definitely inspired by God. This is very brilliant. But yeah, I just wanted to jump back on because the stream ended so abruptly, and I just wanted to finish it out. I think one of my hotkeys that I hit ended the live stream, or maybe it ended on its own, because I don't think I hit anything to stop it. But I just want to check my notes and see if there's anything more that I wanted to discuss with you before getting off. But I definitely want to go on record as supporting this trucker convoy for freedom. It was definitely under the inspiration of the Lord, and it will lead to worldwide freedom. The last thing that I had to discuss on the list of topics of the current news that's been on all of our minds is waiting on this Ukraine invasion. And I just can't believe the stance that Joe Biden is taking, where they're basically telling Americans to get out because we won't come for you to rescue you once Putin rolls into Ukraine. And we can all believe that because look what they did to the Americans in Afghanistan. They definitely stranded them. But I'm sorry, even if our military isn't built up the way that it should be, you have to talk a big game regardless. We can't look like cowards. I almost feel like Joe Biden is I know he's in bed with the Chinese government and with Russia, and he definitely, his whole family has taken so much of their money over the years. He's done a lot of dirty deals, but I feel like he's running our country in the ground completely on purpose. And I feel like I don't know what force is behind this. It's definitely evil. But the America that I want to live in, we have peace through strength. And that's what Donald Trump was definitely able to enable when he was in office. Because when you let these leaders know exactly where the U.S. stands on an issue and that we're not going to back down, we're not going to move an inch, they take you at your word. He was able to have Kim Jong-il. He was able to get North Korea to stop with the missile testing and everything, and it reminds me of President Ronald Reagan, who was in office when I was a little girl. I felt so safe, even though I was little. I was only, like 5 or so. And I remember when he, I'm trying to think of how old I was at the time, when he told Gorbachev to tear down this wall regarding the Berlin Wall that was separating East and West Germany. I knew as a little girl that this is how a United States president should behave. You tell these leaders of these other adversary nations where you stand, and you make it very clear that you're not going to kowtow to them, or you're not going to meet their demands. And I wish our military and our Navy were built up even more than it is now. But everyone knows they can push around Joe Biden. They know that we're not going to do anything. And a lot of these military leaders that they have stepping up and making these press conferences, they sound so lost. Like they have no clue as to what they're doing. And it's so disappointing to me that America has become cowardly in the eyes of the world. And we have our back door open in Mexico to any terrorist that wants to come across the border. I'm sorry, it's going to be very sad when a lot of these people are going to have to be deported because we can't afford the housing, the medical care, the education. We can't afford that for so many people. And it's going to be sad that some people are going to have to be deported whenever we do get a sane person in office, which I hope Donald John Trump, our president, will be restored soon. But until then, I mean, we're leaving ourselves open to so much terrorist activity. And it's super scary, but I do have faith in the Lord, and I do look forward to the future. It will be wonderful because so many of these kids that have been forced into masks and that have been made to watch our country do such cowardly acts, such as withdrawing the way we did in Afghanistan. A new generation of children is going to stand for freedom, and they are going to be believers in Jesus Christ like never before. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. But any threats of having to wear masks or having mandates, lockdowns, things like that, they're going to be the first ones to jump up and say, no way. They're going to remember how their teachers acted, like the Chicago Teachers Union, how they refused to come and deliver in-person education. All these things they're going to remember from their childhood. They're going to remember how we allowed Russia to roll into Ukraine and how we left Americans stranded in Afghanistan. And they are going to stand for freedom. And I am so excited for this next generation coming up. Oh, I'm looking at the chat. Thanks for covering. Let's see. Biden. Yeah, permanently lost, for sure. Oh, it's exciting to see some people in the chat. I'm really excited. I've been sitting here talking to myself. I was broadcasting before and it just ended out of the blue, and I was talking for another 15 minutes before I even realized it. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm going to spend these last few minutes just in the chat with you guys, because this is one of my favorite things, why I still try to go live even though I stink at it. I definitely, I like that interaction. Legals with convictions like DUI, while the death of since will be allowed to stay. Yeah, we've got to do something about this illegal immigration. Casamarine, is that how? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I want to get some software that can actually read the chat out loud because of my vision issues, but I definitely think there's gonna come a time. See, I do get torn about immigration, right? And I think we all do. We do want people to be able to come here legally. I remember, and I'm sure a lot of you also did, but you know how they have those programs where you can sponsor a child in Guatemala? Well, I did that twice when I was in my early 20s. And I think it was called Christian Children's Fund. And you'd get little letters and pictures from these Guatemalan children. And no joke, this little girl, I had this little girl and this little boy, and they were living in, it was like a hut, but it was made of metal. It was just a little tiny shack, and it looked like it probably got really hot. And they looked like they were malnourished, and the one kid had parasites, and it was very fulfilling to sponsor them. And whenever I think of these families coming over here, I do remember seeing those pictures of those sponsor children, and my heart goes out to these people, because if I was living in Guatemala or Honduras, you better believe I'd be trying to get my butt across this border, especially when they're leaving it wide open. I would feel like that was the best shot for my family, and I wouldn't feel like I was breaking a law. I would feel like I was trying to save my children's lives. But so many of the people that are coming over have huge criminal records. I mean, they've been deported a bunch of times. There's a lot of single men that are coming over. But my whole thing is, if we just let the border wide open and let everybody stream across, I mean, you've seen there's Russians, Ukrainians, Syrians, I'm sure Serbians too, but Syrians coming across the border. And it's, if you have a big heart, which I don't think these politicians really care about these people, they just want voters. It's going to backfire on them, though, because so many Hispanics are becoming Republicans in droves, which is awesome. And so many voted for Donald Trump. So they don't have the Hispanic vote under wraps. But the heartbreaking thing is, we're all going to pay a price because, I mean, our hospitals and our welfare system and our education system can't take care of all these people, especially if there's no order to it. Because, and I think it's so unfair when you have, say, Canadians, Africans, Germans, French, any European nation, Australians, people from New Zealand, they're all waiting in line to try to come over here legally, and they're paying thousands of dollars, and they're like, people are jumping their place in line, and a lot of the times, people that are coming over, they're not necessarily going to be able to work right away, especially when you come over illegally. But there's so many talented people that have been waiting and doing it the right way, and they're not able to, they just have to wait for years. And I am sure some of them figure, hey, why don't I fly to Mexico and sneak over the border too? Because, that's no way to live your life in the shadows like that. Although in New York, they're allowing non-citizens to vote, which is really disgusting. Yeah, there is nothing wrong with legal immigration. Let's see. They were vetted and had to prove they could support themselves. Yeah, same like my ancestors. Is it Casamarine? Casamarine? Am I saying that right? I hope. But my ancestors came from my mom's father's parents. They came from Germany, and my dad's side had been here for a long, long time, since probably I think 1600s. Like they came over. The one ancestor came over from England as a surveyor, but there's a whole mix of different nationalities. But yeah, I remember this lady that I worked with. Her parents came from Russia, and they kept their immigration papers in a leather satchel on their bedpost. And those papers were precious. They weren't citizens yet. I think they had their green card, and they were so cautious and so scared about being deported. And what bothers me about our border being so open is that when you don't have borders, you're not technically a nation. And it kind of ticks me off that when I want to go to Canada, because I'm so close to it, I'm scared whenever I cross the border into Canada, which I haven't been doing since, all these restrictions, and I don't want to have to go and get a test. But when you cross into Canada, they're pretty welcoming, But when you try to come back to the United States through the Ambassador Bridge or the tunnel, I feel like they don't want you to come back sometimes. Like, we went to a dollar store and bought a few things, and they question you so harshly. And you have your little passport thing on your license. It's like an enhanced license, and it says you're a U.S. citizen. But they kind of mess with you, and they ask you, your address and what hospital you were born in. And some of them are so nice and let you just go. But some of them scrutinize you, and just to see, if you're carrying anything other than possible, souvenirs or whatnot. They always want to make sure you're not bringing in anything illegal. But we went to some stupid little dollar store over there and got a little cup or something. And the guy at the border crossing, he was like, you couldn't have bought that here, in the U.S. And it's like, well, I wanted to go to Windsor to experience something a little bit different. But We haven't crossed in a long time, especially now that the truckers are tying it up, which I'm all for that. I mean, and that's the other thing. I wonder how much we're going to be willing to sacrifice. I know we have shipping issues, supply chain issues, and a lot of it was self induced from the mandates and things. But I'm wondering how much we're willing to sacrifice with the trucker convoy, if coming here and everything getting tied up. Are we willing to stand with the truckers and stand for freedom, even if it costs us? Because honestly, as Americans, we've had a pretty cushy lifestyle. I know I have not had to really experience want or hunger or anything. Like, I know my grandparents, they went through the Great Depression, and my grandmother, she said she grew up in Detroit, and she had to their family had to burn furniture for to heat their home, and none of them had jobs in the 30s, and they honestly they struggled, and we haven't really had to suffer too much. I mean, I know my Fiber One bars are out of stock at the grocery store, but hey, I'm not starving, obviously. But I'm just wondering how much we're going to be willing to sacrifice to stand for freedom, how much gridlock, how much supply delays. And I don't know how this is all going to resolve. I don't know if the military is going to come in to try to break everything up or how successful they'll be. But I really think Justin Trudeau is hanging on to power. He will hang on to power by his very fingernails, because that's more important to him than listening to the demands for freedom of the average people like you and I. And I know a lot of people like to make fun of our President Donald Trump, that, he was crass. Oh, he was a billionaire. How could he relate? He definitely related to the little guy like you and I, and that is why the leftist media hated him and still hates him and fears him. I do believe that the elite media hate us so much, and more so, they fear us. And it's been so interesting to watch, with the Joe Rogan situation with Spotify. They've been trying so hard, these lefties, to cancel Joe Rogan. And I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I actually watch a lot of his stuff over on YouTube. And he talks to celebrities and experts, doctors that even had something to do with manufacturing the vaccines, and he just asks questions, and they're afraid of the average guy, the little guy, the everyman, I guess you could say, the blue collar worker, the trucker, the peasants, I guess, is what we would have been called back in the time of Louis the 16th. I feel like we're sort of reliving history, basically. I feel like Justin Trudeau is like Marie Antoinette, where they supposedly said that she said, let them eat cake. I honestly, I've studied a little bit more into Marie Antoinette, and she was not the way she was made out to be in so many movies. There was so much more to her, and she really did suffer in the end. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. Yeah, all politicians are like that, Shamit. If I'm saying anyone's name wrong, forgive me. I think I'm just ignorant when it comes to... It's funny, when I call patients, I'll take my best stab at how to say someone's name. And usually what I do now is I go against the way I think I should pronounce something. And it turns out to be right mostly. Or people are gracious and they don't say anything. But yeah, I feel like I do not want to relive the French Revolution. That was horribly bloody and disgusting. And I think definitely, hold on one second. I think someone was texting me. Oh, never mind. But anyway, I think I want to see how this whole freedom convoy ends. But I noticed so many of the Democrat politicians, they see the writing on the wall and lifting these mandates and everything. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And I don't care if they're lifting restrictions due to politics, but I will say for sure, I never want to see any sort of mandates put in place, especially involving health or public health and safety, that get warped with politics. There are certain times when we do have to have safety measures. There's certain times when quarantines might be necessary. I get it, right? But when you're not truly following the science, you're not listening to the medical experts, or if you are listening to the medical experts, but they are tainted with politics and tainted with bribes and money, you're gonna have issues. So I definitely, and then those of us who have common sense and who actually do research and do follow science, when they demonize or vilify us as being Trump supporters or whatever insult you want to put on someone that has common sense, it's not going to work. And I think we're going to see an end to all of this really soon. We were blessed with 45. Let's see. A man who worked for a living. Most politicians have never worked for a living. Yeah, that's all I think about, Shamit. When I think about Justin Trudeau, I think about Justin Trudeau to me is like a modern version of Marie Antoinette. Poor Marie Antoinette, she was raised to be this queen, and she had to go to France and learn the customs of the French people, of the French court, and she didn't quite fit in. And she became the villain of the French Revolution, which isn't so fair. But when you have people living a lavish lifestyle that haven't had to roll up their sleeves and build anything for themselves, that's where you get a Justin Trudeau who's deaf and dumb when it comes to the working man, the everyday person. Oh, let's see here. Let's see here. Hold on one second. I'm trying to scroll in the chat. Oh, I hope it doesn't end my chat or my broadcast again. It ended the broadcast twice already. I am learning, though. I'm watching videos on how to do all of this. And I just learned that you can, what was it that I learned today? Oh, hotkeys. Duh. Hotkeys that you can assign to each of your scenes, a number, a letter, whatever you want, and then you can switch scenes. And I'm learning one little skill at a time, but it's hard, when you work 40 hours a week. I'm just gonna look at some more of the chat. That's how I want to end it. But this is gonna end up being like 2 separate broadcasts because the first one shut down. I think 2 of them shut down right in between. Let's see. Truckers are getting tremendous support around the world. Yeah, I saw it spreading to France. New convoys are starting in other areas. I really hope we have a Trump or DeSantis running in 2024. My belief, and I'm not going to say I 100% stay steady on this belief, but I believe Donald Trump will be restored to office sooner than 2024 because I do follow the prophets, the Christian prophets that are out there. I never have before all of this. I stumbled on them. I would say it was an act of God that sort of pointed me to the prophetic movement when I was searching psychics because I wanted Trump to win so bad. And like I said, I was searching psychic predictions of Trump getting winning, for 2020, and it steered me right to Elijah streams, and that's when everything started, where I started following the prophetic movement. And Prophet Kim Clement, Clement, I keep calling him Clement, but he had passed away 2016, I believe, but he was a prophet that he was an immigrant to the U.S. from South Africa, and he said that Trump would have the 2 terms. He didn't say consecutive, but he said they would try to put a witch in, and he even had a prophecy that the wall would not be finished because of the wicked things Iran would try to do. But it also, one of his prophecies said the View, and I think the New York Times would have to say what God wanted them to say. And I really do feel like Trump will be restored sooner than 2024. I can't say I'm 100% steady and perfect in my belief in this. I mean, it could be 2024, but I definitely, I don't care how it happens, but I'll be happy when Trump does come back. Let's see. I'm going through the chat. It's exciting when people join you for a chat. I really like that quite a lot. Let's see. Oops. I'm trying to scroll down. It won't let me. There we go. All right, let's see. Yeah, I definitely pray that I'm right too, Casamarine. Like I said, I definitely feel that no matter how it happens, God is ultimately in control. I do want to go on record saying that. I have a great faith in the Lord Jesus, and no matter how these prophecies come to pass or in what time frame, I do feel that our nation will be restored because we are the light of the world that spreads the gospel to all the nations. And I do get conflicted because I'm a person that believes in the rapture, and I always followed Jack Van Impe, and hit the way that he viewed everything happening was that the end times are right now, which I always feel like the end times are near, but I feel like there's more work to be done. But however it pans out, I know God's got this for sure. Mom and pop news. I like that. Mom and pop news outlets, Shamit. And I think that's why YouTube tries to censor so much and shut people down, is because they're afraid of the mom and pop style news broadcast. And I'm definitely just giving opinion. And that's the other thing I don't understand is why YouTube tries to censor a lot of people and say, oh, that's misinformation. Honestly, we know whose opinion and who's trying to give out just plain news. I'm trying to give out my opinion on the news, and I don't understand why they have to warn and threaten, and it's not fair. Tremendous rise of let me read this again. Yes, there is a tremendous rise of independent journalists that are exposing what traditional media won't dare. I definitely agree with that, Kaza Marine. Or Kaza, yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Let me know if I'm butchering your username there, but I definitely want to get one of those. There's this program that reads the chat out loud, which would be super helpful because like I've got everything magnified so much. I'm not really a slow reader. It's just, with the vision issues, I'm like, it's all blown up across my screen and I'm trying to take it all in real time, which makes for some awkward videos, I must say. But so is this time a good time for doing a live stream, would you say? I'm apparently getting more people watching than normal. I'm testing out different times. I wish I could be a pro at it, but honestly, I think it just takes practice. Nepal, usually the political parties choose to represent them during vote. Intimidating. I'm going to have to study up on the politics of Nepal. I'm not super informed, but I definitely am interested in learning. So I will definitely do a little research. God helps those who help themselves. Yep, I definitely agree with that. Oh, good. I'm glad I'm saying your name correctly. There's a way to, there's all these slick things that you could do in these live streams, and I think it's just going to be learning one trick at a time, because there's ways where you can put each person's independent chat up on your screen. So if anyone watches it in the replay, they can see the person that chatted, but it's a little complicated. I use OBS Studios, and I don't think it's a function with that program. Yeah, I sure hope I'm a real person. I try. Let's see. Wonder how long I've been on here. I'm taking a look. Let's see. I'm going to probably be wrapping this up shortly, because once my family gets home, then all bets are off as far as trying to broadcast in peace and quiet. Those who count the vote decide everything. I totally agree with that, Kaza Marine. Well, I think I'm definitely going to wrap it up. I went through everything that I wanted to go over. That video with those kids being freed from their masks was so endearing and so sweet, where the teacher told them they wouldn't have to wear masks anymore. And they cried and shouted for joy. It was so precious. Alrighty, well, that's about it. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Stay strong. Pray for the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Support the truckers and prepare to make some sacrifices with the supply chain and everything if it comes to that. I want to stay strong for them, and I really appreciate the freedom that they're going to help us all to be able to maintain throughout the world. Thank you so much. God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.